Good afternoon, class. I'll be starting with the new chapter today. Chapter 3, Economic, Social and Cultural Impact of British Rule, page 41. These two are the topics which I'm going to discuss today. Under these two topics, many subtopics are there, so I'll be explaining one by one. First topic is social and religious movement impact of modern ideas of Europe on Indian administration. At the beginning of the 19th century, most of the India come under British rule directly or indirectly. By the 19th century, most of the India come under British directly and indirectly. The most important question was, before the British rule, how to govern India. So far the company was concerned, so they follow a policy of benevolent neutrality or a policy of non-interference in cultural and social affairs of the Indian subject. As they follow a policy of non-interference in the cultural and social affairs of the Indian subject, automatically politically they are interfere and dominated the Indian, but they keep hands of hands of India in the matter of their religious matter. Is the Britisher thinks that they fear of provoking the sentiments of the people, and for fear of religion, they said, let the sleeping dog lie, was their motto. But the spread of new ideas in Europe and England, especially doctrine of utilitarianism, agitated the ruling class of England. But with the spread of new ideas in Europe and England, especially the doctrine of utilitarianism, agitated the ruling class of England. The cadets of the Halbury College, who became the administration of India, were infused and a new thought, and out of such thinking, three schools of thoughts were developed. First one is the conservative Tory school, pointed out that the Indian state and society should not be disturbed by infusion of alien Western ideas and reform. The existing Mughal system of government and the existing Indian society and culture might be improved, if necessary, without disturbing the man's structure. Warren Hastings was the innovator of the doctrine, and its propagator was Horrocks Hayman Wilson. The conservative Tory school pointed out that the Indian state and society should not be disturbed by infusion or the alien Western ideas and reforms. The existing Mughal system of government and the existing Indian society and culture might be improved, if necessary, without the disturbing the main structure. And Warren Hastings was the innovator of this doctrine. The second school was liberal Tories urged that the respect of administration, the Muslim criminal law should be replaced by the English, because the former was personal while the latter was rational. The liberal Tory school suggested that the respect in administration of the Muslim criminal law should be replaced by the English, because the former was personal and the latter was rational. Even the revenue system should be reformed. And so far social and cultural matter was concerned, the last interference should be made. At least something should be done cautiously to improve, but not to abolish. The third school was utilitarian and evangelist school. Jeremy Bentham was his philosopher and James Mill was his propagator in India. James Mill, in his classical work History of India, criticized the Cornwallis system. That utilitarian and evangelist school, Jeremy Bentham was its philosopher, and James Mill was the propagator of India. James Mill, in his classical work History of India, criticized the Cornwallis system. He demanded the utilitarian reform in the sphere of administration, society and culture of India should be introduced to the by the government. The next topic is Reform movement, Brahmo Samaj, Arya Samaj, Aligarh movement. The the Brahmo Samaj, the Western thought and culture made an impact on society, Indian mind and culture and social cultural movement started. The religious and social reform movement in the 19th century followed in three main streams. The Western thought of the Western thought and culture made an important impact on Indian mind and social cultural movement started. And the three mainstream were movement influenced by Western rationalism for religious reform. The movement influenced by the Western rationalism for religious reform. Number two, reform movement of Hinduism in the rational light of scripture. The third is movement of synthesis between the above two and with the other religion leading to the birth of Neo Hinduism. Brahmo Samaj. Brahmo Samaj movement started as the first stream mentioned above Raja Ram Mohan Roy, the father of modern India. The Brahmo Samaj was started by Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and he was the father of modern India, was the founding father of Brahmo Samaj. He was very critical and rational scholar of comparative religion and ancient scripture. As he was very critical and rational scholar of comparative religion and of ancient scripture. He, with his deep knowledge of the Shastras, he found that idolatry and polytheism was departure from the basic principle of the Shastra. With the deep knowledge of the Shastra, he had found that the idolatry and polytheism was a departure from the basic principle of Shastras. The Raja reached the truth of God is one after deep study of the scripture, and he is omnipresent, shapeless in the Vedas and Upanishads. The creator of Burma is mentioned. Raja Ram Mohan Roy reached the truth that God is one after a deep study of scripture, and he is omnipresent, shapeless in the Vedas and Upanishads. The creator of Burma is mentioned. In 14 to 15, he founded the Atmiya Sabha. When he expounded his reforming ideas among the audience, in 1828, according to another view, in 1829, he founded the Brahmo Samaj. As Raja Ram Mohan Roy left for England, even the burden of work of the Brahmo Samaj fell upon. After Raja Ram Mohan Roy left to England, the burden of the work of the Brahmo Samaj fell upon now this Brahmo Samaj of work fell upon Devendranath Tagore, the father of great poet Ravindranath Tagore. Devendranath intensified reformist ideal of the Samaj without breaking away from Hindu society. He wanted to spread reform from within. Even he wanted to spread the reform within. He founded the Tata Bondini Sabha and Tata Bondini Patrika to preach the ideals of reform of the Brahmo. Devendranath Tagore founded the Tata Bondini Sabha and Tata Bondini Patrika to preach the ideals of reform of the Brahmo Samaj. The Tata Bondini Sabha preached that the good and rational things of the West should be absorbed for modernization of India. The Tata Bondini Sabha preached that the good and rational thing of the West should be absorbed for modernization of Hinduism. Number B, the base thing of our ancient civilization should be cherished by discarding superstitious and evil practices. The base thing of the ancient civilization should be cherished by removing the superstitious belief and evil practices. The new India should be built on the synthesis of the two. The Brahmo Samaj movement is tireless under the crusader of Keshav Chandra Sen, who joined Samaj in 1850. Under Keshav Chandra Sen, the Brahmo Samaj soon became the Acharya or main preacher. After he worked tirelessly for the crusader of Brahmo Samaj, Keshav Chandra became the Acharya or the main preacher. Keshav was a dynamic personality, a fearless reformer, a highly emotional and devotional to his forceful preaching. He would speak fluent. He also Keshav Chandra Sen also speak fluent English and was the editor of the famous English journal, the Indian Mirror, which soon impressed all learned men of India. The Samaj who believe in Devendra ideals came to be known as Adi Brahmo Samaj. They upheld pure Upanishadic ideals and did not agree the Brahmo movement was a separate religious movement outside Hinduism. The young fiery reformist Brahmos was gathered around Kesab leadership from the Southern Brahmo Samaj or the Brahmo Samaj of India. Even the young fiery reformist Brahmos who gathered round Keshav leadership from the Southern Brahmo Samaj or the Brahmo Samaj in India. Keshav made tours of different cities of India and attracted English educated individuals to his idols. Even Keshav Chandra Sen toured to different cities of India and attracted English educated intellectuals to his idols. The branches of the Samaj were founded in UP, Punjab, Bombay, Madras and other towns. Under Keshav, the Brahmo Samaj initiated a good number of social reform movements which became the basis of new Hinduism. Under Keshav Chandra Sen, Brahmo Samaj initiated a good number of reform movement which became the basis of new Hinduism. Thus, the Brahmos criticized caste system, discarded child marriage, especially for girls, advocated intercaste marriage, female education, and anti-parda for women, liberation of women, etc. Even this Brahmo Samaj criticized caste system, discarded child marriage, especially for girls, advocated caste marriage, female education, anti-parda of women, liberalism of women, etc. As a result of the split in 1878, the dissident from the Southern Brahmo Samaj and Keshav followers named their branch as the new branch name was Nava Bidan Brahmo Samaj. The Southern Brahmo Samaj still acted as the powerful movement and gradually lost its militancy. Contribution of Brahmo Samaj. The Brahmo Samaj helped political awakening among Indian people. It also started social work among the factory workers and contributed one penny bulletin preaching the evils of drinking. Some critics, however, pointed out that the impact of the Brahmo Samaj was felt among our upper middle class. The Brahmo Samaj helped political awakening among Indian people. It also started social work among the factory workers and distributed one penny bulletin preaching the evils of drinking. Some critics, however, pointed out that the impact of the Brahmo Samaj was felt among the upper middle class. It felt the influence of peasants, lower middle class. Still, the Brahmos destroyed the stagnation that rotted the Hindu society by discarding disincarnation and divinity among them. Some people feel that it did not influence the peasants, lower middle class. Still, the Brahmo destroyed the stagnation that rotted the Hindu society. Number 2 is it denied that any scripture is beyond human reason and intellect. It denied that any scripture is beyond human reason and intellect. Third is he rejected the doctrine of karma, phala or fate of preach that every man has the power to improve its life. It rejected the doctrine of karma, phala or fate that preached that every man has the power to improve its fate. It worked for human liberation and spread of it. It's also worked for woman liberation and spread of education. So in the next class, I will be discussing about the Arya Samaj movement. That's all for today. Thank you.